Welcome into another edition of ACC Baseball Etc, presented as always by our friends at Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. You can go to pitchlogic.com for more information. I'm Daron Vaught. I'm glad you're here. I am also so glad that Scott Jackson is here, assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at North Carolina for the Tar Heels. The last 8 years, he's been the head coach at Liberty and is back with UNC, where he was before as an assistant for a long time, and back with us in the ACC, one of my personal favorites. So, Scott, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the league. It's good to have you. Good to see you, man. Let's just check in generally. How are things?
Good. Crazy. My family's still back in Lynchburg. My oldest is a senior, so my youngest is quarterback in the football team back there. So it's kind of been a back and forth, but it's been fun and something that, I never would have imagined this would have worked out as well as it did. So I've been really excited to be back and just enjoying, Chapel Hill.
Well, can we dig in? Because I remember I shot you a text when I saw the news, but you and I have not really talked about it outside of that. Coming back to North Carolina, is that something that was always on your radar, ever on your radar before it happened this past summer, or just like, how did it come about?
Yeah, really good question. It was always on my family's radar because my wife has taught in the public school system here in the state of North Carolina for 15 years. And so, she wants to work towards, getting to the point where she doesn't have to teach anymore. So we knew that was a big part of, our end game. Had no idea how it looked and where it was going to be. My mom and sister are still in Charlotte, so we kind of knew we would end up back down here at some point. Scott and I joked about it, joked seriously for about 4 years, when he got the job here back, when Coach Fox retired. And then he came to me, at the end towards the end of the season, more in the postseason type time frame, and said, hey, I think this could be something that we can get done. I need to know if it's going to work for you and your family. And so, some deep conversation, between Sarah and I, trying to make sure that this was the right move for our family. And it wasn't a very long conversation. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I love it. It's funny how those joking, but in all seriousness type things tend to work out more often than not. That's great. Your wife, Sarah, by the way, former standout basketball player at Campbell. You guys are like North Carolinians to your core. That's great. I love that you guys are back in that way. So normally when you and I talk, Scott, it's with like sort of a central focus, right? Like I'm going to be working on a game that you're coaching Liberty in, so I want to talk about the team, that sort of thing. And it occurred to me we've never really gotten the opportunity to just kind of rap about your career and life all that much. And I pulled up your new bio page on North Carolina's site, and it was just kind of like refreshing my memory of some of the places that you had been, like UNC Wilmington, for some success there for a handful of years. And I'm digging in, and it's like, wow, he was a coach in the Coastal Plain League with the Wilmington Sharks, and I never knew that. And so that's something here that we can tap into as well. Maybe we'll get to that, and I want to get to your time at Liberty because, again, 8 years as a head coach is pretty significant. How do you feel you are different as a coach now as opposed to when you took that job or before you took that job?
Wow, that's a great question. I think the big thing is, you grow. You grow if you want to grow, and you want to continue to, I think, learn yourself more than anything. And that's really, I think, what I saw in myself was, you have that chair that can be lonely sometimes, right? And you get a chance to lead a lot of people, for the most part, it's probably going to be around 50 to 55 people in a big, Division I program. And so with that comes, I think, a lot of responsibility, certainly a lot of communication, things that you think you're ready for, but you're never ready for it until you just, you're thrown into the fire and, hey man, here's what it's going to be like on a regular basis. And so things come up that, take you away from maybe what you've got planned for the day. I learned getting up as early as you can is the best way to go about doing it. Because if you don't get it done by 9 o'clock, you may not get it done that day. So there's some things, some habits, certainly, like I said, some growth there for me personally that I wouldn't have gotten if I wouldn't have taken that opportunity to be at Liberty, for 8 years. I think the big thing for me is just those relationships that you have with players and staff and administration. And I couldn't have asked for a better place to, have taken that big step in my coaching career. Liberty was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, given maybe this is a good opportunity to sort of get into your specific role with North Carolina's coaching staff now in this role, because recruiting coordinator is part of your title. I'm curious how that experience might inform some of the decisions you make and how you operate in this new old role with the Tar Heels.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, that's the kind of the things that Scott and I talked about is, not only did he want me back here, he said that. He said, I need you back here, just because there's so much, I think now from a head coach standpoint that is not what it was when we first got into this profession. Let's just call it, like it is. I mean, Scott and I, we go back about 25 years, coached together in the Coastal Plain League. And I think back to what college baseball looked like back then and where we are now. And it's wonderful in so many ways because it's grown so much. So, with that comes, I think, the opportunity to have a big picture perspective on, maybe little things. Some things you look at as an assistant coach and you feel like you give it a little bit of thought and you kind of move on. And I think there's some things that you really take a step back and give a little bit more thought to, if you've been a head coach or you are a head coach, and how it impacts so many different people or so many different parts of the program, whether that's, recruiting or, some difficult decisions you have to make. If you haven't made them before, it can be tough. And I think really to kind of be a check down for Scott, like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on this? If you haven't sat in that chair, sometimes I think it's hard to have that perspective, and it has a lot to do with, I think, experience that goes into, having to make some of those difficult decisions before, or having to do some things with practice or whatever it looks like, trying to have a feel for your team during a difficult moment of the season. I think there's a lot of things that go with that I can help Scott with if he needs it, and, just be able to kind of navigate everything that he needs to navigate as a head coach with another guy, sitting beside him with an office beside him that's been there before.
Yeah. Yeah. And the title is interesting again, because you kind of made a name for yourself as a recruiter before going to Liberty. How involved were you in recruiting when you were the head coach of the Flames? Were you kind of separated from that? So is this maybe a return to a part of the coaching job that you found you were particularly gifted and maybe enjoy that part of the process?
Well, I definitely felt like I was very involved, especially with the campus visit when I was a head coach. I always felt like that was a strength of mine. I love being around people. I love meeting new people. I love trying to connect with people. And so when you're the head coach and you have a young man and his family on campus, I think, one way you can separate yourself is to really take the time as a head coach to spend maybe more time with them, than they were expecting, and really try to, develop a relationship. I mean, it's hard, right? You've got, 3 or 4 hours with the young man and his family. And so for them to walk away feeling somewhat of a connection, if it can be with a head coach, great. And so, yeah, I think, I think really looking at maybe self-evaluating, I think that is one of my strengths as a coach. Is I just like people. I like being around people. Recruiting here at North Carolina, the university, it recruits itself so well, just because the campus is incredible. The stadium's incredible. I just don't think there's anywhere in the country that has football, baseball, basketball, all just kind of wrapped up in the middle of campus there, that gives you just an unbelievable feel. So when you have that, and the presentation you get when you walk on campus, if you add the relationship and the people to that, I'm biased, but it's pretty special here.
How has recruiting, and therefore the job of someone who is a recruiting coordinator in college baseball, changed since the first time you did it as your job?
Yeah, it has changed a lot. The thing I think I'll start with is the recruiting calendar, because the calendar, it gives you some breaks in there that we didn't have my first time, doing it here at Carolina. And, if you look at it back in, it was summer of 2008 through the summer of 2016. Basically, when your season was over with, you didn't stop until almost this time of year, and we could go out and work outside camps. I remember always going up to the Northeast and doing some camps up there. So you were always pretty much tied up every weekend, with the exception of Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was almost a year-round, type approach. Jupiter went all the way into late October. So I remember, that being completely different, getting back and, where do we go? Where do we have to be? Oh yeah, that's right. We only get 5 weeks in the fall, and, you get some downtime there, which is nice. But when you're coming back to a place like this, it can be frustrating because you just want to go and see players. And, I'm doing some catching up, especially with the 25 and 26 class, just not being out there and seeing as many players as I did, as an assistant, or where I'm at now. I just didn't have the opportunity to do that as a head coach. And so, my ambition was to get in here and know who everybody was and just go. And the calendar kind of backs you down a little bit. But outside of that, it's the transfer portal, it's junior college players, and then it's high school players. And so it's a three-headed monster, for sure. And I think really, managing the roster is a whole different deal now as we move into the era of, more scholarships and a roster cap and some of the things that we've never dealt with before. You really have to take a step back on some things and make sure you're making the right decisions, and you're building a roster that not only do you like the talent level, but it fits, what can compete in your league, and, how that looks from a draft standpoint. That's never going to go away. And so there's a lot there that it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, especially just, stepping back with the NIL and seeing how that works at a level that I wasn't used to at Liberty. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. And that's something that's going to come into play more so now than your previous stint with North Carolina, is not simply recruiting the high school players.
Right.
What's your approach? Because I think this is going to vary, right, from coaching staff to coaching staff. It's going to depend on resources and how you guys view the JUCO pipeline, which is something North Carolina's had a ton of success with, even back to your previous stint there. And then the transfer portal, right? Like, do you have some like hard defined thoughts on, this is how we want to use these things as a program?
Yeah. I think really, talent's talent. I think, you start there, of course, and, no matter how old it is, if it can help you win, you want to have that, opportunity to make that young man a part of your roster. There is an age factor, that comes with that. Let's just be honest. It's getting harder and harder to get on the field, as an 18, 19-year-old freshman, just because of the experience and, what the transfer portal brings. But I think really just looking at your roster and, what kind of tools you want on that roster. Pitching's always going to be at a premium. We're going to continue to stay with, high school talent on the mound and try to develop those guys because you get a chance, to keep them for 2 or 3 years. So, there's a lot that goes with that. We had 2 freshman position players here at North Carolina that were everyday players for us last year, and a 17-year-old that was ended up being the Friday night starter. So that's that's pretty neat. And, is that going to happen every year? Probably not. But to my point, talent's talent. And so I think, you look at the draft, you look at what's going to happen, you start to get into your season, guys are having a good year. Just the roster is going to constantly, I think, be in flux with, who's coming and who's going for the most part. But, you step back and look at it, and, it's something that Scott and I have talked a lot about, how we want it to look. Do you save some spots for the portal? If there's a high school player that we're all in on and we like, which, there's several in the 26 class that, it wasn't just the talent, but it was the character piece and the intangibles. So, there's it's fun. I mean, I've enjoyed this part of my career, and it's fun to be back in it, and especially be able to do it at a place like North Carolina. It's a cool challenge to have that I think, you get a chance to do it, with Coach Gaines, Coach Wiersbicki, all the people here, Coach Howell. They just all bring so much, and, it's been fun to have those conversations, and, those staff meetings they're interesting now, a lot more so than just, hey, can he play? Can he not play? How much are we going to offer him? There's so many other things that go with, building that roster with all those entities that weren't there, my first time around.
Yeah. Yeah. Take me, Scott, to your first day back with North Carolina. How different was it walking in? Did you recognize the place or no?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but it almost kind of felt like I didn't go anywhere. It's just, you walk back in, there's a lot of the same faces. Carter Hicks is an incredible piece of our staff. He was a student, manager here, when I was here. So obviously had a great relationship with him. Joan Holtz, our administrative assistant, she's been here forever. And then, Coach Forbes is one of my best friends. Coach Gaines was with me for 3 years at Liberty. I coached Jesse Wiersbicki. I coached Jason Howell. Dave Arendis is still our operator. So it's the same faces, right? And the guys that, you have those relationships with. So it's just easy. My first day back was, this is kind of crazy. Is this really, is this real? And then you start being around those guys like, this is kind of what I'm used to. And, I talk to them on the phone all the time anyway. When I was at Liberty, I just have to walk down the hallway now. It's pretty cool.
I love that, man. Just like easy plug back in and get to it. That's great.
And that's, a lot of it, Scott. I mean, he's just got that personality that, you just love being around him, and he's ultra positive. He's got energy, and, you just walk in that office, and, it's whatever you need or whatever he needs. It's he's easy, man. He makes it go, and he's done an unbelievable job here. It's been fun to watch him grow as a head coach, and, he's just done a great job with the people in the building, and not to mention, trip to Omaha and the wins and the postseasons that he's been to, every year he's been here.
Yeah, for sure. The league itself, I think, is going to look a little bit more different, right, than it did when you left, including some trips out west in your future as a member of the North Carolina coaching staff. What are you most looking forward to being back in the ACC? And I know, like, with Liberty, and this goes back to, like, games I called and interactions you and I had, you guys had a lot of midweeks just because of proximity and regionality with some ACC teams. So it's not like you've been totally disconnected from the league. But is there a trip you're looking forward to making? Is there a ballpark you're looking forward to being back in?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I'm looking forward, first of all, to like those Friday nights, it doesn't get any better than that, with a good crowd, and, just the intensity that goes with, that Friday night game. And this, I mean, you had that in Conference USA a little bit. You had it in, the Atlantic some, but not at the level that it is, here. So I'm pumped about that. There's some places. We go to Florida State, last weekend of the season. So I've got some really good memories there, some really bad memories there. But it's always, one of my favorite places, to go play. Gosh, I haven't been to Louisville ever in my career, so I'm looking forward to that one. Those guys, Coach Mack, Coach Williams, Coach Schneider, have always been so good to me, and seen them on the road, but never coached a game there. Virginia, I love those guys. I love that venue, and seems like it's always been a really fun series. And then, of course, NC State and Duke, and what that brings to the fans and everybody in our area. Pretty exciting to be able to kind of renew those. Right about the time I had left here, we had some some epic battles with NC State, in 2012 and 2013, and that was a lot of fun. I'll look forward to those. I'm sure it'll be just a good old-fashioned, Tobacco Road battle like it's always been with Duke too. I mean, Chris has done an unbelievable job there. It's been fun to watch those teams and just kind of sit back, not be in the league, but just watch their success.
Yeah, and those particular matchups, again, having been at some of them, they just, it seems that the past handful of years, Scott, they always deliver. Like there's something that they give you. So that's a lot of fun for me too, dude. You got me excited. Like we're still.
It's almost here, man. It'll be here before we were just talking about that in the office the other day. It's like, I mean, we feel like we just got through Thanksgiving and then kaboom, we're going to be on the field practicing here before you know it. So it's right around the corner. Yeah,
about a month away. You guys will be, getting ready to roll, and then mid-February we're here, and it's on until until whenever it's no longer on. Right? It depends on how far you guys get.
Hopefully June. Hopefully late June. Yeah.
Hopefully June. You've mentioned a couple of times, and I brought it up initially, the Coastal Plain League coaching with Scott Forbes, UNC's head coach, of course. You and Scott coaching together in the Coastal Plain League. Is that you guys were together prior to that summer, right? And is that like the beginning of your guys' relationship? When did the relationship with Scott truly start?
Yeah, so I got a twin brother that played at Greensboro College, which was in the same league as North Carolina Wesleyan when they were competing at the Division III level. So Coach Fox was the head coach and Coach Forbes was playing. And my twin brother was the shortstop for Greensboro College. So fast forward, I guess it would have been about 3 years, and I was helping out with the grounds at Campbell as I was finishing my master's, and I was actually taking care of the field, and North Carolina came to Bowie's Creek. Coach Fox's, I think it was his first or second year here at UNC, and Coach Forbes came up to me and thought I was my brother. And I said, no, I'm actually his twin brother. And he's like, no way, you guys look alike. And we kind of laughed and got to know each other a little bit that day. And I was, because obviously my brother talked so much about Wesleyan and the talent that they had and how good those teams were and how we had no shot to beat them. And, so I knew a ton about North Carolina Wesleyan's program, including Scott. And then I went to Wofford the next year. That was my first job, was to work with the hitters at Wofford. And just one day Scott called and said, hey, I'm going to be the head coach of the Coastal Plain League. Do you want to be my assistant? And it was in Wilmington. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'd love to, that'd be great. And so we spent that whole summer together. We had a blast. We won. We were both single. So, we lived together with some friends of Scott's from Sanford, his hometown. And we just had an unbelievable summer together. We got along great. We always, enjoyed being around each other. And then, fast forward, we always joked like, hey, man, that'd be cool to coach together, again one day. And I'll never forget Chad Holbrook leaving, to go to South Carolina. And Coach Forbes was, on the road. We were sitting next to each other actually watching a game that day. And he said, you need to get your stuff, together, your resume and stuff, and send it to Coach Fox. And I'm like, Coach Fox isn't going to hire me. I'm the pitching coach at Liberty, and you just lost Chad Holbrook, who was, unbelievable recruiter here and did an unbelievable job with the position players. And yeah, Coach Fox hired me. I still don't know why, but he did. So I'm thankful. I think maybe Scott had a little bit to do with that. Yeah, maybe. And here we are. That's great. Yep. Have we ever touched on this? I'm also a twin. I never knew that about you. Idea. Yeah. It's no, I didn't know that. It's been one of the best, most rewarding things in my life. I love it. It's been great. I love that, man. I take a lot of pride in it. Like my twin brother and I are best friends, and it's one of those things people always ask, oh, what's it like to have a twin? I'm like, I don't know what it's like to not have one, so it's not really a fair question for me to answer. But sure. That's so funny that Scott, like, that's the genesis of it all, is that Scott thought you were him, and then boom, here we are. Yep, that's right. You guys are coaching together at North Carolina again. That's so cool. Yep. Very good stuff. All right, man. Well, I think that
it is just such a great reunion, if you will, that you're back at North Carolina. So yeah, no, I can't thank you enough for the time. This has been a lot of fun to catch up. I will end my taking up your time and look forward to seeing you soon for some legit baseball. We're going to get into it. Quickly, how was Thanksgiving? Everything good?
Good, yeah. I'm a big hunter, so went hunting, did a lot of that, and my youngest son is in the football playoffs, so we got to go to a freezing cold high school football playoff game, which was cool. That's been a real just an enjoyable, fun thing for me this fall. So watching him play has been cool. It's kind of a surprise for us. He's a quarterback as a freshman, so it was a big kind of wrench in our plans. But I get to go again on Saturday, the state semifinals, and then hopefully the state championship game. So pretty cool stuff. It was great. I hope yours was. It's always one of those things that is a sign to me where you better enjoy it, because we all know what's right around the corner where you don't get much downtime. So
yeah, no doubt. And mine was great. Appreciate you saying busy time of year, right? So I don't my parents are up in Southwestern Virginia, so we sort of prioritize, depending on my game schedule, we as a family kind of prioritize Christmas as the holiday that we're all up there for. So I'll have like a week to get up there to see them. But I've got some friends here in the Triangle that I spend Thanksgiving with. I think it was like the 5th or 6th time I've done it with them. So it's like a second family situation. Awesome holiday, good chance to celebrate and just kind of chill out for a little bit. So no, it's been
How's
good.
the basketball, man? Taking you everywhere, huh?
A little bit, yeah. I was, as we're recording this, I was at Clemson on Sunday doing some women's basketball, and East Carolina men's basketball. I go everywhere with them, so they're at South Carolina this Saturday, and then conference season will start on New Year's Eve. We're in Tampa. It's and then mid-February we'll get here, and it mixes in with this stuff. And it gets to be the best time of the year, the busiest with the best, no doubt. Cool.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. Love you guys and appreciate the opportunity. You guys do so much for our league and for college baseball. So on behalf of all of us, thank you.
We're happy to do it, man. Glad you're back, Scott. Appreciate you. Scott Jackson, North Carolina assistant coach and recruiting coordinator with us here on ACC Baseball Etc. We'll talk to you next time.